What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We're here for another day working on the Cayman, and today is a very exciting video because we are working on the front fender flares. For those of you who don't know, this is my 2012 Cayman, where I've been working on the first Karma Cayman production kit in the world. Technically number 2 other than their prototype kit, but I'm the first one in Northern America in the stateside to get this kit. If you have missed any of these build videos, go ahead and click in this right hand corner. It'll bring you to the playlist where we build this entire thing. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing. We make new videos every single Tuesday. Primarily it's been about this for the last couple weeks. So last week what you guys watched me do was build the front bumper, put it all back together and bolt it to the car, which was a huge success. What I did not show you guys from last week is that I did this. This is a front fender hanging on the car. If I go ahead and give this a tug, this thing is bolted fully to the car. It looks amazing. Look at the fitment on this. Perfect. No panel gaps all the way around. Fits around here very nicely. Come down along the side. Panel gapping is amazing. What I did was I fiberglassed bolt onto the back side of this fender. However, that took a little bit of trial and error to figure out how to get that actually onto the car. Now, I've seen people do this in the past. However, they've done it on flat panel cars, if that makes any sense. Like the Karma BRZ and the Karma Lamborghini kit. Those cars, like, yes, they have contours. However, the Porsche is very round. It's got a lot of curves, which doesn't make it easy to mount these fenders, fiberglassing bolts on the backside, because of the curvature of the car, and because the flares themselves kind of have warped a tiny bit with heat transporting them, how far they've came overseas from Indonesia. It makes it for a little bit difficult time trying to mount these. What I've done with this side is I've spared you guys all the headache. I measured everything out already prior to coming on camera because this is, excuse my language, the biggest bitch. Trying to measure this and make sure it's perfectly equal to the other side, which now it is, as you can see by all these measurement marks. But this is what I'm talking about. You see how this flare is kind of like warped outwards like this? It's because this is so curved and this does not like to sit down. You got to kind of push it, which does not make it easy to, like I said, fiberglass bolts onto the backside because it's round. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so one problem from this side, measuring it and making this side equal. What I've noticed is in the back side of the side skirt, we're dead even equal. However, on the front side of the side skirt, we're like 1/4 of an inch off. What will need to happen right here is we will need to move this side skirt slightly bit up, and we'll probably do some body work to fill that and make sure that those panel gaps are good. The biggest thing is that on both sides, see how this fender is dead even with the bottom side of the door? God, I'm trying to show this and hold this at the same time. It's terrible. This is the door, and this is the fender. That's exactly where it sits on the other side of the car. So fender flare placement for me is much more important than this panel gap, because we'll fix that. We'll fill that, do a little bit more fiberglass work, and make sure all the body gaps are good. Now, in the production of this kit, I had the very first one out of the molds. Some of these were a little tiny bit off, which is okay. That just means there's a little bit more work on my end. So that's what we're dealing with here. Nevertheless, we're making good progress, and we're at the point right now where I can drill holes into this fender and show you guys how I did this. So that's what we're gonna be working on today. And for those of you guys out there who are wondering how you do this, you will learn. I'll show you guys exactly how to do this and how I did it. Alright, so whether you're trying to do this for a specific Karma kit or any other wide body kit and you're trying to do reverse hardware like I'm doing right now, this is the best way that I found that works for me. So, you measure up your flare where it needs to be, that's all good, fine and dandy. Yeah, what I like to do is make marks on the actual physical fender itself and then on the flare as well, where they're gonna line up. See these little markings to indicate where it should line up at? These markings I also like to put in a position in which I feel a bolt needs to live, if that makes any sense, where there's some stress points or it feels like it just would really benefit from having a bolt there. Now, what I did is transfer that line onto the back side of this flare, and obviously you can't see that line anymore, because what I did on that line, as you can see, there's one right here. I've ground down the back of this where these bolts should go. Okay, now I do a decent amount of space because I like to use an extra amount of fiberglass just to make sure that this bolt stays on here strong. And so it's always better to grind too much than to grind too little, to be honest. When you're sanding this stuff, you'd rather have more coverage than not enough. Now the question you guys might be asking is, Tyler, how do you know where to put the bolt? That's a good question. I asked that myself. I was like, how the fuck am I gonna do this? And this is what I figured out. What I do is I put these bolts inside the car where they're supposed to go. Makes sense. Then what I do is I get paint and I paint all the tops of the bolts. Now this is regular paint, not spray paint. The reason that I choose this instead of spray paint is because spray paint generally dries a little quicker than paint, and I want a longer working time so that I can make sure that I transfer these bolts onto the backside of this flare, and it's not drying before I do that. So then what I do after I paint all the tops of these bolts, now this sounds like a long process, but it's going to happen within like 5 seconds, so you got to move quick. So I paint all these bolts, then I take my flare, stick it on there with some handy dandy duct tape, and then I push these bolts, if you could see like this, I push the bolt up like this. It hits the back side of the flare, usually leaves a good enough outline so you know where the bolt is going to live. You then take these bolts out, fiberglass them onto the back side of there where all those little bolt holes go, and then you got yourself some reverse hardware on the flare. Hopefully this makes sense. I'll show you guys what I mean because we're gonna go do it right now. There's a couple of other ways that this could be done. I believe they're called brad bolts. It's a really difficult kind of bolt to find, actually, because usually it's something that you use in furniture, but they also make something that a lot of race car applications use, is that they epoxy bolts and they have a flat head bolt with holes in it so that it can get teeth and grip it, and it will have like support. I'll put a picture on the screen if I could even freaking find one of these things. I couldn't find these bolts specifically, and so that's why I'm doing it with these. I know there's a better way to do this. This is just the way that I'm doing it right now because this is what I have accessible to me. So let's get this flare on. See, works out perfectly. After you do all that, you should be left with something like this. Bam, look at that. That one didn't transfer so well. This one, this one, this one, look at that. Some of these obviously don't transfer perfectly, but it gives you a good understanding. Now, we can work on fiberglassing these bolts onto the backside of this flare.
Sometimes it's hard to keep my head up, but I still try. I get so fed up. Sometimes it's hard to keep my head up. I get so fed up. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to keep my head up. Why do I feel like a letdown? On the edge, I don't wanna get down. Been on this road one time way back when I chose J Mac over Les Brown. So close to calling it quits. Look at all the dumb stuff that I did. Said I wouldn't be just like my dad, but I went ghost on 2 of my kids. No cap, just might pop 10 more of these pros. So hard to forget, I don't really wanna go back. I really need a fresh start, could really use a mulligan. I've been in rehab, I don't really wanna relapse. That ain't right, but that's alright. I'm out at night, in my head, off my meds, I'm feeling sad. I don't know why. I get so fed up. Sometimes it's hard to keep my head up. I get so fed up. Sometimes it's hard to keep my head up, but I still try. I get so fed up. Sometimes it's hard to keep my head up. I get so fed up. Sometimes it's hard to keep my head up. I ain't right, but that's alright. Off my meds, out at night, all that time, can't get back, feeling sad. I don't know why, I ain't gon' lie. You ain't no good, but come on by, come on slide. Still can't feel, lost my bro, still don't cry. I don't know why. 25 letters on my dresser. Why do I feel like a mess up? Everybody see me out here walking with the Lord, but I still wanna dance with the devil, yeah. Why show love to Becky, but I friends on Quintessa? Every single woman deserves to be loved. A gift like that's so special. But we treat it
Obviously, it's hours later. That's because I wanted this resin to cure and prep everything else. So, here you go. This is what these things look like. I've also shortened these bolts. I've cut them down a little bit. Now, all these bolts, as you can see, are going to be pointed in all different directions. So it's going to make it really difficult to put on, which is why I shortened these bolts. So what I've also gone ahead and done is I've widened these holes, made them a little bit bigger. Now, the reason being that I'm even doing that in the first place, again, is because these will not sit flush. So it's kind of like a fender, like an actual fender when you bolt it on. The holes are slotted so that they can move up and down and you can put it in the correct position. Then you use a washer on the backside and nut it down. That's what I found works the best. So I'm gonna set you guys on the tripod. I'm gonna try and put the fender flare on now. Hopefully these holes have been widened enough to fit, and we'll see. I really don't know what the shot looks like, but as you guys just saw, that was a struggle. Doing this is not very easy, especially on a car that has a lot of curves, because all these bolts start pointing way different directions, so much so to the point where like it does not go on. However, here we are. We got all the tally marks lined up. Fits around the door back here nicely. Something we didn't avoid is, like I said, we do have a gap here at the bottom, and I think that's something that we can cure with scooting the side skirt up a little bit and then filling both these two areas. Like I said, these panels aren't completely perfect. They are off just a little bit. If this one's off a 1/4 inch, then so be it. That's what we'll have to fix. This fender and that other side fender are dead even all the way around. Every measurement from the top corner down, everywhere along this bumper and fender, these flares are dead even. So that's a start. Now to get this sits perfectly. As you can see, this is sitting pretty well, except for these areas where I need to trim the excess fiberglass, which I'm not doing right now. It is late. I'm going to Shit, I'm like kicking everything over. It is late. I'm going to bolt everything back together, drop this thing on the ground, and we'll see you guys next week. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. This was a very exciting episode. It was a lot of work and it was pretty difficult. Yeah, doing this is definitely not easy. With that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Subscribe, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.